So definitely let me know when you hop on if you're able to hear what I'm. Okay, peace everybody. So I am outside, but I want to deal with an interesting topic that applies to all of us. And I had some interesting conversations that's been going on lately. And somebody reminded me of something I was doing a teaching years ago, and I was talking about spirituality, metaphysics, and the practicality of it, taking all the spookiness out of it, and just really talking about how it benefits us and and benefiting the central aspect of us, which is the soul. And when I was doing these teachings and stuff, and it was really talking about the importance of the basis of spirituality, and they, someone just encouraged me, like, you really should just do something raw and just kind of talk about it, because they were saying they think, at this particular time a lot of people are going through certain things, and people are, just trying to strengthen their faith or their personal practice, and really they just really want to be in something real that really works for them. And so I was just encouraged to do that. So I was like, you know what, this is the time, of the year to do that. There's always a good time to do this. So what I want to talk about is the basis of spirituality. So I'm sitting outside enjoying nature. I've been sitting out here, and I said, someone hit me at random. I said, let me do this random. So first and foremost, the basis of spirituality is nothing super deep. Spirituality is referring to your ability to be able to see and recognize yourself and understand what is happening in life, what's happening in the world, what's happening in yourself in relation to that, and your personal responsibility to loving yourself and to loving others. And to get to that space is to be able to have certain pursuits about you. And one of those pursuits is truth. The other pursuit is being able to what? To have a level of inclination inside yourself to pursue truth, because truth is the knowledge of reality, and also to have alignment. Um, a lot of people have a more a biblical influence in terms of reference for the early introduction of spirituality, and one of the things you hear, is conveyed when you read in the scriptures. It talks about love God. Notice it says love God. God refers to love, and so in terms of that, love God referring to the intelligence, the divine, the all one, is genderless. It's a spirit. It's a spirit that embodies all. It's anthropomorphic. So understand that, to get all in details, this divine intelligence is, and divine intelligence is believed to have influence over all creation of life. And then inside of divine intelligence, it breathed into nature its code, and its code is inside nature, and is known as the universal laws and principles. This is where metaphysics come into play. And so loving God means to enjoy and to find yourself in alignment with the universal laws and principles and move accordingly with them. Now, to even get deeper, when we talk about God, we talk about the breath of God, the breath of life. We also are talking about your soul, because our soul is the very embodiment and the manifestation of the breath of life. When we take air into our nostrils when we was born, boom, here we are. We are a living soul. And so this is why we have the living soul numerology system, is to show the relationship between when you've taken breath and how you move and navigate through this life in different arenas of life. And so when we talk about the soul, one interesting definition, if you've been privileged, I sat with elders in the old dictionaries. What jumped out was the description of soul also meant animated principle. Okay, so let me know if y'all can hear me. And so animated principle is reference to the soul, which means that you and I's soul, our mind, will, emotion, all these internal faculties, are also having a level of alignment or enjoyment with principles. In other words, these cosmic forces that comes through nature that's influenced by the divine intelligence. And so the base of spirituality is that we all live in this quote unquote world. World is known as, you see right here, matrix. And matrix is referred to as, it is a mold that we're all are operating inside of. And so these are inside this mold, there's different domains of life: leisure, play, politics, domestic, finances. All these other areas are different domains in life that you and I are partaking in or participating in, and we're also being influenced by. And so the matrix influences human relations. The matrix impresses expectations, ideas, and opinions. One term, when we talk about the term of opinions, in the Greek is kalith. It means to divide in mind. And so the matrix is a great mechanism to constantly pump out information, not to unite you and I, but to divide us by giving us a bombardment of opinions. This is why when truth is presented, a lot of times people will move all around it because they want to give their opinion. Truth doesn't it doesn't embody opinion. It embodies reality of what really is, despite how you might view it. Okay. And so in this, we live in this matrix. We're operating in this matrix. We was born into this matrix. This matrix is shaping human relations, our expectations, the digital environment, right? Our social environment, our financial environment is over several environments. That's what we mean by domains and power dynamics. And so interesting is we all can see the haves versus what the have-nots inside the matrix. And so this game the have want to keep having, while they try to create laws, policies, create cultures, countercultures, whatever, to keep you what? Not having. Okay. And so in all of that, you don't have to be a victim to this. The hope in spirituality and the basis of it is to bring a level of what? Awareness about what? The matrix. This is why you also see in scripture, it says, be not conformed to this matrix. Because why? Because the matrix also means it's a mold that convinces you and presses you to think things that actually are not. So it ends up causing you to call things that are good for you that really is not good for you, and things that are not good for you to call it for good for you. And y'all can look at how you want to take that and apply it to everyday life, and we see it what's going on. So there's a mixed altering of perception, which is stemmed from opinion. Okay. And so when opinion is resonating inside the minds of us, it shifts our reality. Okay. And so inside this mode, there's something that we have to refer to. You see where he's talking about love. Love is the oneness. Love is the high source energy that is supposed to connect us to the self. This is why in spirituality, the base of spirituality is about to get you to what? Love self. Love self. So what happened in love self, the love must merge with self. But the problem is sometimes the self and love is not connected. And so how self and love is connected, it influences the esteem, determination, and willpower of us. Okay? Are y'all getting that? Let me know if that's making sense. So you see that. So we got the love, the self, and the self influences the esteem, determination, and willpower across the board. Now, so when we talk about the esteem, we're talking about what you value. Determination is determining, your inner moxie, your inner guidance to resolutions, your sense of purpose. Your willpower is your moment-to-moment decision-making ability to make sure you're not deterred from the impressions of the world. Your determination is be able to move in purpose and not get deterred by the impressions of the world, and makes you not sure you don't value things that works against the self, that keeps you disconnected from love. This is why the ultimate quest in a lot of spiritual practices is to merge back with love. At the end of the day, it's about love, and love is measured in how we are treating each other. Love is philosophical. Love is not opinionated. Love is experiential. So love and self, when it's come together, is going to show in your esteem, your determination, and willpower, and ultimately is going to show how we affect others. And how we affect others dictates and shows and influences how love is advocated. So you see this triangle right here. You got love up here. Sorry for my handwriting. You got forgiveness right here. And some of you that's been following, you know, that's inside the Soul House and other different things I've done over the years. You know, I call this the love triangle. And so this dictates that. So when the self is not connected to the love, and the matrix is influencing the others, and the matrix is also influencing the self, the esteem gets compromised, the determination gets compromised, and the willpower gets compromised. And at the same time as the experience which you have is going to get compromised because you're dealing with others. So what happens is, if the matrix is influencing and there's no quote unquote transformation or no proper alignment into what love God, then love becomes apathy. You know, the uncaring and the senselessness, not, you know, mindful, becomes apathy. Then we have what? The unforgiveness. And then we have untruths. Well, untruth gives birth to what? Deception. So we know, so if the matrix is pumping in false impressions and things like that to shape you inside a mold to make you think one thing's or the other that are not, then all of a sudden it's going to what? Favor untruth. And untruth is what? Affecting others. And if it's sitting there, have you not been caring about how you treat others? I said love is experiential, and it's not doing that. And then it's going to have apathy to take dominant and influence others. And then all of a sudden, when you hold resentments, bitterness, forgiveness, and revenge, and all these different things, I'm not saying you allow people to disrespect you or anything like that. What I'm saying is, but when you have that, it affects others. And so then others become the experience we have in the world. And this experience takes place inside the matrix. And so it takes place inside the matrix. And so how do we break how we're acting and treating each other? How do we break the influences coming from that? It comes from, again, aligning with love, getting the truth of the reality of things in the different domains in life. What is the economic truth that we need? What's the health care truth that we need? What's the proper domestic practices that's rooted in truth, right? What's the contribution we should have to each other? What's the truth behind that? We need the truth in the different domains in life inside the matrix in order to bring about a different experience in life. And that's the quest of spirituality. Okay. And so when the love and self is merged together, we begin to create that shift and that change. This is why the matrix a lot of times is designed for you not to return to yourself, not to love yourself. There's a popular term we all hear now, it's called therapy. Well, in the metaphysical understanding, when you look kind of a Greek word therapeo, it means to recover wholeness. Recover wholeness refers to what? It's recovering the love and self to be right back to each other. It's recovering yourself, your soul back to love. Why? So that way you can have empowered esteem, your power determination, and your powered willpower. Love of self is measured in how we pursue empowerment, how we pursue our purpose, how we pursue our spirituality. In other words, our reflection of self-awareness and our duties to others, and also our preservation. When those is off, when the love and self is off or is being compromised by the influences from the matrix, let me know if this is making sense to y'all. You know, from the matrix, what begins to happen is now you begin to manifest the opposite, or you move in the opposite direction, right? This is where you start to see depression. You start to see anxiety. You start to lose what? Your identity. That's an esteem issue. Your determination, you know, the drive to be able to hold consistent and purpose and conviction and to continue to engineer your life around that, you lose that, right? When you start to see your willpower, you lose the moment-to-moment decision-making power that you need to have. Life revolves around decision-making. And the end thing is not to be perfect, but we're trying to make sure that we make far more decisions that benefits the soul versus the things that doesn't benefit the soul. And why is that? Because we're trying to have our soul empowered and we're trying to maintain the self-love. So this is why one aspect is when you get in the spiritual path, having peace is not something that stands on its own. Having peace also needs to be protected. Protected from what? Understanding the matrix and how it's impressing things upon you and I to have us to operate in apathy, untruths, unforgiveness, in degenerative environments, all different things that brings what? A self condemning effect upon the soul health of you and I. Okay. And so that's kind of the basis of spirituality, is getting back to the love of self, getting to the point, because when your esteem is where it needs to be, that means your values are at a certain level, which means you are now more likely in probability to engineer certain outcomes in your life that will what? Mirror um, something of a high vibration versus a low vibration. When you hold the determination, you're able to hold the conviction that's needed, the consistency that you needed, because it's rooted within inside you. It's become you. This is why one of the things was advised is, in the spiritual practices is to what? Love God. In other words, to become one, to enjoin. The term yoga means to what? To unite. In other different terms to become one. There is a oneness in our lives. We see all these dualities, which they are very true and real as well. But our quest is to get back to one, and we get back to oneness by understanding what love is. And we can't theorize love. We have to project love. We have to experience love in order for us to become love. And then we also interpersonally inside ourselves have to channel love. Because like it says the truth is inside you. Love is inside you. It's up to us in terms of our internal alignment. What are you willing to yield to? You see what I'm saying? And of those, so you need to understand the qualities, the characteristics, the practices, the behaviors, the social systems or the constructs that mirror love, so that way you and I are operating more in love. A lot of times when we talk like this, people think it's cheesy or whatever, but this is the basis. Because other than that, everyone's saying all kinds of different kind of stuff. And what happens is we can never break what the matrix is shaping you into against what? Your will. This is why sometimes when people try to make changes, it's hard to make changes. This is why spirituality is very revolving around therapy. Inside the Soul House, we refer to as integrative therapy, referring to the metaphysical understanding of recovering back to our wholeness, because we're trying to get back to the love that we're supposed to embody. And in the loving and embodying that, we're also learning the cosmic laws, the universal laws and principles and truths and the right standings that are necessary to help us to navigate through the ebbs and flow in life. And then also to find on a deeper level our own personal soul codes. So inside the living soul system, and this is where your soul numbers come into importance, because it shows you how to navigate as your individual without fourth finger individuality as you go through the matrix, aka the world. That's our battle. That's all of our battle. None of us is exempt from it. This is why the old famous saying is, what should a profit a man or a human if they gain the whole world, gain the whole matrix, but yet lose their soul? In other words, lose their oneness and who they really are and their identity, lose their esteem, lose their determination, lose their willpower for something that's contradicting who they really are in a true essence. So spirituality, if you're in any type of spiritual practice, it should help you merge love and self-empowerment, and then also your duty to others and treating others. When we get to that point, then we begin to see a high vibration, a high favorable outcomes in our treatments of each other, and we begin to start seeing changes, right? And so all this stuff is revolving around at the very basic level of spirituality. The basic level of spirituality is based upon how we love ourselves. Now, some of you that might be interested and you want to hear more of these life empowering, soulful teachings, I encourage you to go ahead and join. You can actually text the phone number 1-844-5 wisdom if you want, if you're serious and you want to join the Soul House. We actually have a special, still going, where you can join the Soul House for $6 a month, and you get access to practical teachings, practical understanding. There's books, there's digital books, there's audios you can download for you to keep, and there's videos, you know, everything in there designed for your soul elevation. If you are in a life transition, you really want to, like, man, I'm just tired of religion. I'm tired of just all the silly stuff. I really want to get to a point and empower myself and move in a different direction. I know, especially, I have a tendency to draw people that's in life transitions. This is for you. We just launched the Soul House recently, so we're still building it, but we're all, we're interacting and we're connecting. And I welcome everyone that's been rocking with me. I appreciate everyone that is entrusted what we're providing in there and how we're trying to, just expand this, bring a different movement. We also plan to bring this into different cities, in intimate settings, for the upliftment of us, for what? The therapy of you, the therapy of your soul, the therapy of your relations as it pertains to you and others. So the basic spirituality is returning to the love of self. That's what it's based upon. And so appreciate everybody. Tap in. Like I said, inside the description, there is a link there to get into the Soul House, or you can, text 1-844-5 wisdom, or you can kind of go right there on my YouTube Satori Seals channel and see where all my links are at, and just go right there and go ahead and click the button and join the Soul House. If you're looking for additional further reading about the universal laws and principles, there's a link. There's a link there as well for these invisible um, rules behind life, which are referring to the universal principle laws. We break that down as it relates to the whole living soul numerology system that applies to you. So just do that. And also, we invite you, if you want to know about the shadow psychology, the shadow and dark psychology of the soul. We're starting a series tomorrow. We're kicking off. It'll be inside the Soul House. But everyone that wants to, join, just join the Soul House, and you be able to have access to these different teachings from this series that I will be launching. And why is it important to know about the shadow and the dark thing? Because it's about you protecting what? Your peace. You protecting your soul. Because the thing is our families, relationships, all kinds of different kinds of stuff might be expressing dark or shadow forces that's affecting our quality of life. So to improve our quality of life is to have an understanding about these forces and how to deal with them, how to recognize them, so you can navigate accordingly. Okay, so that's what's up. So I just want to share that to honor the request. Hopefully this helps somebody. But in the meanwhile, stay blessed. One love.